I completed my first challenge. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andre and I am a lover of all things coloring. February was a really fun but challenging month for me. I set a goal to color 14 pages themed around Valentine's Day, and I did this under a hashtag called 14 for February 25. In this video, I want to recap all the pages I did because I actually managed to complete my first ever challenge. I'll show you all the different pages that I completed, go over my favorite moments, and go over the lessons that I learned along the way. Let's dive right in. So the first page that I completed for this theme came from Kerby Rosanes' Worlds Within Worlds, and it is this double page spread here, which in the book is called ram, but when I looked these creatures up, I think they're actually bighorn sheep. I cheated slightly. I did this page on the 26th of January, so not in February. But the reason I started it early is because I was trying to get this challenge done for 14th of February, and I knew that if I wanted to have them be pages that I liked the coloring at the end, I needed a bit more time to get started, so I began the challenge a week early in January. So I used oil pastels for the background, and I have a YouTube video up that shows how I did this background in real time. It was inspired also by Color Cube 500 from Sarah Renee Clark's Color Cubes. The reason I chose this one is because of this moody background sky, and so I used it not only to pick my colors, but to be a reference photo as well to create the sky effect here. But the reason it fits a Valentine's Day theme in my mind is because animals in the wild often fight each other in mating season to kind of determine who is the better mate for whoever it is they're fighting over. And these two are obviously in a very major conflict with each other. And I was like, must be Valentine's Day out in the wild. So that's why that page fit. The next page that I have comes from Rita Burman's Afrika book, and it is her heart-themed page here. I also completed this on the 26th of January. I did it in several hours at the end of that evening, and it was a fun one to do and was a bit more mindless to color as well. So in this original one, they have all of these motifs similar to what we can see in this uncolored side here. And I decided to try out a technique where instead of using any pencils, I would only use acrylic paint pens for the middle and then do my distressed inks on the outside and add in some stars around it. Overall, I think the effect is nice. Initially, I had only done white lines because I was thinking of having it be a white line effect, but it was too pale, especially with the color gradients going towards the white in the middle, and that's when I brought back in some purples and then some greens, and I'm glad I did that. So it's a simple page here, tiny bit messy, but it was really fun to do and a nice quick one to get done as well. I was trying to hit also all of the different heart-shaped motifs in all of my coloring books too. And so that's also why I chose this page here from Burman's Afrika book. The next one that I colored is from World of Flowers by Johanna Basford, and I chose this page because I'm sticking with having as many of these full heart pages as possible. This one here was inspired by the Color Cube number 206 by Sarah Renee Clark. The reason I chose this color palette is because of the bouquet in the image had a nice busy feel to the bouquet that could match here, especially because there's a variety of flowers here and a variety of flowers here as well. And so it was the perfect palette for me to pick for this page. I learned a new technique on this page here too. Kira from A Pictured Purpose often bases her colorings with watercolor pencils before coloring on top of that, and I decided to try the basing techniques, except I used these Ecoline soft brush pens instead of watercolor pencils. I had received these as a birthday gift a couple of years ago from some friends who knew I was into making cards. However, I never used them because they were very soft and pastel and very, very transparent, and my handwriting is terrible. So if I was using these for any kind of lettering, the effect was just messy and scribbly because I don't have the talents that people have of having phenomenal calligraphic handwriting. I'm sure I can develop that as a skill with practice, but I don't practice my handwriting. And so I discovered later, however, these are absolutely perfect for basing pages because they're of that transparency I had complained about earlier. It allows you to get rid of the tooth of the paper, have a nice light wash of a color on top of which you can put your coloring pencils without it overpowering the coloring pencils. And so I did that for this heart here. For the background, I used my distressed inks again. By the way, I use them, I call them distressed inks, but they're just a bunch of random companies. They're not from Tim Holtz's distressed ink range. I don't own those because they're very expensive, and so they're just random ink pad inks, just to clarify. And so it was another quick heart page to do. Really fun. The basing helped the process speed up, but also helped me block in my colors so I can visualize the completed piece ahead of time in a really, really nice way. So that is the one that I did from World of Flowers by Johanna Basford. Next is from Magical Worlds by Johanna Basford, and this page I completed on the 1st of February, and it is this dragon page here. It fits in with my love theme because I was imagining these two as lover dragons as they float and enjoy life. Maybe they are about to have a baby together, as seen with this egg. However, I never ended up completing this side, just this side here. For this, I have a color along on the channel for it, and I just wanted to go soft with the colors as much as possible. And what I enjoyed doing was having a couple of these flowers be done with my Jelly Roll Metallics, and so that way I can have a bit of contrast with the shaded in of everything else. I used a stencil for the first time in my coloring as well, and that's one of the cool things that I learned was how to use a little cloud shaped stencil. I ordered it off of Amazon and it took around 2 months to come here, and it was worth the wait. And I saw online that someone had applied this soft pastel using a paintbrush. So I just used a flat paintbrush and applied the clouds up here. I suggest whenever people do clouds to only do it on a third of the page and stop, because if you do the clouds all the way up, you kind of kill the perspective view of it, especially since if she's floating above the clouds and she's straight on, like the eyesight would make the clouds big here, small here, and then you'd have sky for the rest. And to soften it out, I just used a light pink in a small gradient coming down from that end, and that's how I did the overall background for this page over here. First one done in February, so now I'm actually into the right month, and it is the 4th one completed for the challenge. Next one for the challenge was a full week later on the 9th of February, and I decided I wanted to use some alcohol markers to get me some quick victories for my challenge, and I chose to do it in the book called It's the Little Things by Creative Paula, who is also on YouTube. And I started with this cover page here using the color palettes over here and some of those patterns as well. And it was another fun one to do, a quick one to do as well, using my alcohol markers. And I did use a stencil for the background. However, when I was trying to film it, I forgot to press play for that. So I only have record of this here, which I'm planning on putting together, hopefully into a color along video to put out. But it was fun to learn how to do these different like shadings and designs on the different heart elements here. These stripes are done by using the colorless blender, so that was a new technique that I learned as well. On that same day, because these go really quickly, I had enough time to complete a second one, and so this is the second one I also completed on the 9th of February. It fits in my love theme because there's a heart, and two, it's like, you know, you share music with the people that you love, and I decided to have it be just like a mishmash of rainbow in outer space. I don't know why, that's just where my brain went. So using my alcohol markers and then some acrylic paint pens, to cover up the line work here so that I can get rid of those thick black lines. And then I just used a random gold pen that I found in my collection for the border. I have one last page that I did here, and that was the next day on the 10th of February, and that is this birds in a tree page. and I thought it fit the theme, A, because we have a couple of hearts, and B, because we have the idea of lovebirds for February. For this one, I decided to try a technique I saw with Color with Claire on YouTube, where she created this glitter effect using different marker dots, from darker to lighter dots, and then some white dots, and then some sparkly stars. So I thought, why not have them be in a glittery tree? And that's the choices that I made for this page here too. It was interesting coloring in these cute and cozy style. This is the first one that I own. In fact, it fits in with the hashtag Color Your Hoard February 2025 by Lovella's Coloring. But I enjoyed the process. At first I didn't, I'm going to be honest. When I started coloring it, I was like, oof, it's going to be super fast and simple, but not really my style. But once you add color to a page and it comes to life, you appreciate it a lot more. So I'm going to keep coloring in this book, I think. It was a fun one to do. After that, I returned back to Magical Worlds and completed the Candy House on the 12th of February. For this background, I actually used gouache paint, and I do have a color along for this one already up on the channel too. The gouache paint background is nice because it gives you this solid color, and oftentimes people use black only for the backgrounds for solid colors, but sometimes you can mix it up and have it be multicolored instead. Even though this is a candy house, you might ask, what does this have to do with romance in February? Haha, here's my answer. So color cube number 42 has all of these little hearts here, and if you remember these candy grams, I think they're called, they taste absolutely horrible, but they have a lot of fun colors. And so I was inspired by all of this pastel candy, and this had a bunch of candy, and I was like, ooh, pastel candy, it could fit. So I pulled all of those things here together. A challenge that I had with this page was, how do you preserve the white and still make it look completed? Having the background purple actually helps with preserving the white elements within a page, I noticed, but also I decided not to leave it pure white. If you look closely, you can see I have all of these little colored dots from all the other colors in the page. And the idea there is that snow can be reflective. And that's the last one that I did for Magical Worlds by Johanna Basford. Next up, it's the 13th of February, one day before Valentine's Day, and I still had 5 pages left to complete. I needed a quick victory, so I went to Small/Little Victories by Johanna Basford, and I did this heart here. For this one, I wanted it to be a bit of a different color range than you would expect, and I wanted it to be a bit more vintage. So I went with this color palette here, which is 10 and also 397. However, as you can see, this is not fully in that color range. It's a bit closer. So when you flip it, like these colors are slightly similar to the pinks, and then slightly more similar to the greens, and then just threw in some ochres for the yellows of the flower. So it started with these and then deviated towards that, but I'm not complaining. I do love the end effects of my hearts over here as well. And then I used a gold metallic jelly roll pen just for some of the stems, and then outlining the yellow flowers as well, just to add a bit more interest and sparkle and shine to this page here. Anyway, so I was 9 down, I had 5 more to go, I was on a roll, but at this point I was starting to lose some steam, but I kept pushing through. 16th of February arrives. It's past my Valentine's Day mark. However, I am giving myself February to complete the challenge, so I'm allowing myself to go over the Valentine's Day mark here, and I came back to Rita Burman's Afrika book. I chose to do this flower house here because flowers have to be grown for Valentine's Day to be given, and so I thought it fit the theme well. I came back to these original color palettes and I decided to give it a go being a bit more like honest to the colors that are on the page, and I'm really glad I did that because it allowed for a very earthy garden, which I might not have done otherwise. Often with flowers, you tend to go a bit more pastel and bright, not veering towards the desaturated and earthy tones, and I just love how this page came out with all of these different things here. So to make the background look nice and full, I had my Prismacolor pencils be dark in the middle and then kind of graduate to light at the edges. And I also threw in some white paint pen dots towards the edges as well to help with that fade out effect. And that allowed everything to just come together nicely. I also used my Derwent ink tints on all of the other elements in the foreground. So only Prismacolor pencils for the background, but Derwent ink tints for everything else. And that allowed me to use colors which I don't normally use because I pretty much only stick to my Prismacolor pencils. And so it was nice to have like types of purples that you wouldn't find in the Prismacolor set, for instance, and some of these ochres as well. And it made it a pleasurable page to color because at this point I was losing steam, so I needed to kind of like shake things up a tiny bit to keep some of the interest. So this one, like I said, was done on the 16th of February. It was my 10th one. I had 4 left to do. In one day, I finished the heart from Johanna Basford's Johanna's Christmas. I was trying to hit as many of these big heart ones as possible, so I had a few more of these big heart pages to get through. Johanna's Christmas is nice because it is single-sided, so I could actually use my alcohol markers on this. And I had in my head this really nice soft pastel look of going from purple to, or blue to pink, and then the transition in between would be purple. I wish I picked a different pink, to be honest. This one here is a bit too orangey, but when you pick it and you put the color down, you just kind of have to stick with it. So that's what I did. I just stuck with it. And then I did my same kind of technique of having the like ink pad inks from dark towards light in the middle with all of my stars around it, and I threw in my silver paint pen too. So it's not my favorite page. I feel like I could have gone so many different ways with this to make it look cool. One idea that I had was make it look like a chocolate box and just try to draw in like box elements, but then I did not have confidence in my drawing skills to have that perspective be proper. And also at this time, like I mentioned, I was getting tired. I needed a quick win. So I pushed through, did this page in a couple of hours. If I were to redo it with more energy, I would have made this into a chocolate box, but I'm happy with what I have because it served the emotional needs I had in the moment. So reaching the end here, almost done, and I really wanted to finish the challenge, so I moved on. All right, so coming into Good Yule by Hanna Karlzon, we have this heart-shaped pig motif at the back, another Christmas book, but also a page that fits for my love theme. I picked this page partly because I saw Erica on Elm Colors give a tutorial on how she did some of her watercolor backgrounds. And what I loved with this page that she did, she chose pinks by the way, but the way in which she preserves the whites and kind of let things float out was something that I've been trying to do and failing to do because, like I mentioned earlier, I have a hard time preserving whites. And so it kind of freed me up to experiment a tiny bit more with having just some color in and letting the rest wisp out. Erica had done small little hearts drawn in as well, just to add some interest. So I drew in those using my blue and green pencils to kind of keep everything in the same color scheme. So a quick one to finish here. I also did this on the 17th of February, so the same as Johanna's Christmas, but I enjoyed the process. It was fast, but it was nice, and I'm happy with the overall end results. Even if the eyes creep me out slightly, I like the color palette that I ended up choosing. So that is from Good Yule by Hanna Karlzon. I have 2 left to do, and one of the ones I chose was from Atlantis. Again, because you have a full heart motif, but also because this was a buddy color with Jane over on Coloring with Jane, who's on Instagram and YouTube. She was known as Coloring with Love, but I think she recently changed her username to her real name, which is Jane. And so for this one here, I did that same kind of effect
earlier of having the colors just fade out, choosing only blue this time and adding in some of those cute little hearts as well as my little dots. And as I colored it, I was initially thinking of having her hair be like this, this ombre effect between pinks and greens and blues. However, when I started coloring, I did an entire strand pink, and I was like, it's gonna look blocky and not ombre if I mix and match the colors. So I decided to make her hair only pink, her hair only green, and then they're kind of like joined together this way with my limited color palette. So a fun one to do, done on the 20th of this month, and I was down to only one page left. Very exciting. And super happy I was almost done with the challenge. So the last page was a quick one. I needed a quick win, a quick victory, and I was completed on the 21st of February, and that's from Fuzzy Higa. And it is this page over here. So I chose it because I wanted something quick to do with alcohol markers. These go really quickly. I also chose this because Jamie's Coloring Love has a hashtag called the Wild Year of Color 2025, and February's month theme was bear. So I needed to have one bear colored in, and this was perfect for that. Plus, they're writing love letters to each other, and they have all of these cute little hearts everywhere on their noses, some flowers. It's just a really cute page. So I colored this one in using my Ohuhu alcohol markers. I really need to practice wood texture. Like, this wood texture is a bit of a disaster, but I am happy with how evenly I got things colored in. You don't go too fast with the alcohol markers. You must go really slowly with them to make sure that the colors just mix and blend well without looking streaky. And then you kind of take the same color and layer on top of it a couple of times to create the shadow effects as well. So I was happy with the laydown. Need to practice my texturing if I'm going to continue in the cute and cozy coloring book style. But there we go, my final one completed, and another untouched coloring book, so Color Your Hoard, another one completed as well. Really happy with that too, and I was finally done.
And there you have it. Those are the 14 pages that I have completed for my February challenge, which was a lot of different pages to complete. Whew, that was a long and hard challenge, but I'm also really proud of myself for pushing through, even towards the end when I was starting to just get tired and sick of it. I'm okay not coloring another love-themed page for a year, I think, at this point. But the challenge did allow me to color in 10 different coloring books, spanning 6 different coloring artists, and allowed me to also utilize different coloring techniques, such as inspiration from color cubes, using my oil pastels and my soft pastels, practicing with some basing and some alcohol markers too. So overall, I think it was really helpful and successful in getting me out of my comfort zone and learning new things. I also managed to color in 3 different uncolored books, which is great because I want to make sure that the small collection that I have is well loved. And I explored a whole new style with the cute and cozy coloring, which I have never done before. I do need to mention, however, I had 2 little bloops along the way. So one of them is from Rooms of Wonder, and I was coloring this listening to the end of my audiobook, which had this big boss battle between a bunch of dragons. It was like a fantasy themed book, and I was just getting grumpier and grumpier as I was listening to it because one of the characters was turning into a bad guy, and I was like, why? Why was this happening? And I think that my irritation came across on the page because I colored that with like no attention paid to color. And unfortunately, the ink pad background, for some reason or another, picked up my fingerprints, which feels like a safety concern. So now you on the internet know what my fingerprints look like. So that was a blooper and is a page I decided to not consider part of the challenge because I don't like it. I feel like I need to redo it. I also have one whip from World of Flowers, and as much as I thought this was a really beautiful page and I was enjoying doing it, I started it using only coloring pencils, and that takes a long time to do. And because I was trying to get through this challenge a bit more quickly, I put it to the side so I can come back to that in the future as a whip. I do, however, have one final thing to show you, and this is what I'm super excited about, the community. I had made this a hashtag on my Instagram, and so many of you have jumped in on this idea and did coloring pages and tagged me in it, and I'm so grateful for that. So here's a video montage of all of the wonderful pages that you as a community have done for this challenge. So which was your favorite out of my 14 pages that I have colored? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more coloring content. Happy coloring!